From the Ticats Audio Network, this is the Ticats This Week with RJ Broadhead and Luke Tasker.
The Tiger Cats will try to get above 500 for the first time this season and win 3 games in a row for the first time this season. They'll have a chance to do it on Friday against BC. Kickoff is at 7 o'clock. Welcome to Ticats This Week. I'm RJ Broadhead, along with Luke Tasker. Boy, Luke, that last game against Saskatchewan, 38-13, a lot to like. What really stands out to you from that last one?
Well, you can't help but point out the quarterbacks, and both Matt Schultz at taking over for Bo Levi Mitchell, they both played very well. 400 yards passing and on the night, or excuse me, net offense on the night, and you know, just that was an encouraging thing to watch. Both those guys recently coming off of injuries, and so very excited to see how that continues to progress. Both of those guys, probably, you know, I don't know. I'm sure we'll see Bo Levi Mitchell start this game, and we'll see how that sort of progresses, and if we see Matt Schultz as well. So, and then I've been for the second half of the season, RJ, I've been really hot on the Hamilton defense. I think they're playing good football, and they did that in Saskatchewan as well.
Interesting. The second half of the season started off with a trip to BC. Tiger Cats won that game 30-13. They had a dominant effort, but going into that game, it was definitely coming off a low. They had finished the first half of the season at 3-6. They had just lost at home to Edmonton, who hadn't won a game going into that one, and the Elks beat them. And I don't know about you, well, I do know because we talked about it. Going into that BC game, there was little hope for optimism, but that game has really turned things around for the Tiger Cats.
That game stands out as the brightest moment, the turning point of this season for me. That was an unbelievable game, and you're right. Right after the low, it was the lowest of the low. The loss at home to Edmonton, and then an unbelievable recovery to beat a very good BC Lion team in BC. So really impressive performance there. And as a player, RJ, that it's not for nothing that you beat that team earlier in that season. It makes this contest on Friday night in Hamilton, it does make it feel a little bit different. There is some confidence knowing that you had already beat them this season. So, you know, I'm excited for these guys and that opportunity.
So second half of the season, it's pretty interesting. The Tiger Cats are 5-2 in the second half of the season, and their only 2 losses have been against Toronto. So that's a pretty impressive stretch for the Tiger Cats. If they want to win the Grey Cup, they'll have to figure out a way to beat Toronto, but the only team that's beat them in the last 7 games is the Argonauts. How are you feeling going into this game against BC?
Yeah. The Ticats have just found themselves. You know, you got to think that the teams around the league are, you know, they're paying attention, and they see a team that looks drastically different and is finishing games drastically different from how they were, you know, in the summer months. And so that is exciting. And to be honest, the frustrating thing specific to the Toronto matchup is the Ticats have not played very well against Toronto. It's not been great football games, and Toronto has outperformed the Ticats in those matchups. So you're right. That is if the Ticats are going to be Grey Cup champions, that hurdle is ahead of them still somewhere. Eastern Final. And so who knows, but short of that, the Ticats are one of the hottest teams in the league right now. And the BC Lions traveling out east this way now, you know, they've got it in their mind too, what happened in BC, you know, in that midway point of the season there. And the Ticats played a very solid game there. So, I'm feeling very confident. And I like too, RJ, that I think the bye week this is great timing for this bye week. After BC, the Ticats will get that rest week and then go into the Montreal game to finish the regular season. And I just think it comes at a perfect time. It's the stars aligning.
Couple of things there. Against Toronto, Bo Levi Mitchell started the first game, did not finish, got injured, and Taylor Powell has started the other 3 games. So we'll see if, you know, the health and if that was a rusty game for Bo Levi Mitchell off of 10 weeks of injury, then I'm pretty excited to see what's ahead. And the bye week's interesting too, because Montreal has a bye week next week going into that final head-to-head regular season game. And let's set the stage for what's at stake here on Friday at 7 o'clock at Tim Hortons Field. Tiger Cats have to win. If they lose, then Montreal gets second place and will host the East semifinal. And even if the Ticats win and then Montreal wins on Saturday in Edmonton, Montreal will host the East semifinal. So the only scenario to set up that final game of the regular season to winner takes the home playoff game would be Ticats win and Montreal lose. As a player going into this game, first game of the week for the Tiger Cats, you got to take care of your own business, right?
Yep, absolutely. And you could almost play the cynic. There's maybe a thought process that if the Ticats were to lose, it gives you a bye week, then followed by a meaningless game, and then yes, you have to go to Montreal and then to Toronto to get to the Grey Cup. But it does add in that last game of the regular season as almost you could potentially be a rest week for some guys. That's the cynic perspective. The home playoff game is meaningful. It'd be great to have that. It would be, and remembering that the Grey Cup's in Tim Hortons Field, so it'd be Tim Hortons Field, Toronto, Tim Hortons Field for the whole Grey Cup stretch. That would be a really favorable layout of games there. So that's really something to keep in mind. I always had to travel west for the 3 Grey Cups I was a part of. We were always way out west. So there's one aspect of it. I think that just emotionally, if you're able to win this game, and even if you've taken care of it and done everything controlled everything that you could control going into this weekend, it's almost regardless of Montreal's, once it's out of your control, then you you don't feel the burden of having lost that battle, and so even if Montreal is able to get their win and secure their home field for the playoffs, then so be it. I just think this win with a bye week ahead of Hamilton, it would just be it would propel sort of emotionally and just the feel of the locker room as you go into the end of the season.
I like what you did there, Luke. It's really not a bad thing either way. You put a positive spin on it. You win the game. You're still in the mix for a home playoff game in the East semifinal. You lose, you get a lot of rest time. So actually, it's a great scenario for the Tiger Cats. The main thing is they're in the playoffs. And to put it in perspective, also, this could be the last game at Tim Hortons Field for the Tiger Cats. There's that possibility too. So does that motivate a team?
Yeah, except for as a player, you're thinking it's not. You'll be back for at least the Grey Cup. If Montreal loses you have a chance to be back for the Eastern semifinal. So I don't think I think that the players are not expecting that. They want to have more games at Tim Hortons Field. In fact, you could have 2 more games. Yes. It could be the Eastern semifinal and the Grey Cup. So, yeah, super interesting.
Yeah, it could go either way. But this is an important home game. Hope you can make it to Tim Hortons Field. If you can't, Luke and I will have the call at 7:00 on the Ticats Audio Network. Great to have you with us on Ticats this week. I wanted to ask you about James Butler. He got to 1,000 yards, and I talked to him, and he's always so thrilled that his mom's proud of him, and they had a great conversation afterwards, and she could go to work and brag about her son like she should, because he has been excellent for the Tiger Cats this year, but he fumbled, and it was on the opening drive, and he doesn't fumble. The last time he fumbled and lost one was in game 1 of the season, so it was pretty rare. So I asked him about the opening drive. You're going for 1,000 yards. He knew he was 58 away and fumbles, and he actually said, "Yeah, it's great to get to 1,000 yards, but it was bittersweet because of that fumble." The fumble didn't cost the Tiger Cats. They didn't give up any points off of it, but there's him being a perfectionist where he got a huge milestone for a running back, but still was upset he had a meaningless fumble early in the game. Can you relate to that as a player?
Yeah, you're always going to remember the one bad play that sticks out in your own performance of the game. I remember a game in Toronto where I had 10 catches and was sort of just the hot hand. Like I was just targeted all night. I just was doing a lot. And one of the balls from Zach Caleros, I came out of my break and it was right on me, and I reached up and it kind of hit off my hands, and it was an interception. So and that's the only thing I could think about after the game, which was it's just the way that it goes. And also, I think with James Butler, I think that speaks to the Ticats and their emphasis on the turnovers, because it was a year ago I think we were at -22, a turnover ratio with the Ticats. And it was the
right.
story we could not get away from the whole season. The Ticats are literally sitting at 0 right now. They're at perfect even on the turnover ratio, which is just so interesting and so balanced. And the defense is really, in the second half of the season, has started to take the ball away. And it's that kind of obviously is in James Butler's mind as well, the importance of ball security and how well or how poorly the team and an individual is taking care of that. So that they've made strides in that. This season they were at a negative for the whole year effectively, and they've climbed back to this even turnover ratio, and it's guys like James Butler taking that very seriously.
You mentioned the turnovers. Tiger Cats had 5 against the Riders. Riders had 3, but Riders didn't get any points off the turnovers, and the Tiger Cats got 14. This defense, we talk about the offense. It's great to have Bo back, and Matt Schultz looks great, and Tim White, the quietest 100-plus yard receiving game that we've seen all season. Nobody's even talking about it, 129 yards receiving. James Butler gets to 1,000 yards. But this defense has been unbelievable. Last 2 games, they have not allowed the opponents to advance into the red zone. They've created turnovers. And you talked about it in that game against the Riders. The timing of when they come up with a big play is uncanny. It's been remarkable this year.
If you listen to the Coach O show with Luke Tasker this week, it's so funny. I say something kind of similar to what you said, like just kind of praising the defense, and it is because they got a heroic performance. And Coach O goes, yeah, but we haven't arrived yet. Like, yeah, they're okay, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess there's still room to improve always, but they're dominant. They've had a few truly dominant performances, I think, certainly against Calgary and in Saskatchewan as well. I mean, they've played really well. So, and actually, you go back to the BC game, and Hamilton played excellent. The defense played excellent out in Vancouver as well. So, yeah, I think they've kind of set the tone for this season, especially as you go back and forth with quarterback injuries and how that's been sort of a ongoing storyline. I think that the defense has been sort of a staple, and for starting off the season wobbly as well. Like you said, the team was 3-6 at the halfway point. They've found themselves a little bit and have certainly been able to take the ball away more and just been making big plays.
The defense hasn't arrived yet. 2 games to go in the regular season. Playoffs on the horizon. A, that's pretty awesome that they could get better. And B, please arrive soon, because we're running out of runway
It's
here.
time. Yeah, really. It's kind of time. If there's more in the tank, we want to know about it.
Yeah. Hey, you'll love this. At practice, it was 13 degrees and media members there. Oh, it's so cold. Come on, 13 degrees. Like, it's going to get worse. But it was pretty interesting to see in practice. And I made a note of this because I wanted to talk to you about it. Just the hard-nosed, tough guys. There were 4 players for the Tiger Cats out there in no sleeves and shorts.
Who are they?
Dylan Wynn. That's no surprise. Casey Sales.
Okay.
Gordon White. And Panay Pavihi.
Okay. Little defensive heavy there, yes. By the way.
I was wondering that. You're an offensive guy. Where were all the short sleeves and shorts on the offensive guys?
I'm actually interested that the offensive line didn't get a mention there in those 4.
Yeah.
That's unusual, or that's sort of unique. Mike Filer, I don't think he ever wore sleeves, but the Gordon White is sort of the odd man out there, the one thing that doesn't match, and good for him. And he, as far as long snappers go, he's a pretty scrappy and physical long snapper. Like it's like totally not a surprise if there's pushing and shoving at the end of a special teams play, and then it gets broken up, and it's Gordon White that was in there. So he's it kind of makes sense with his character. So there you go. That's good.
He's a linebacker by trade, so he came through school as a linebacker and long snapper, and is making a CFL career as a long snapper. So he's got that defensive background. Big change in the lineup for the Tiger Cats. Omar Bayless, who had his first 2 receiving touchdowns, and Sean Thomas Erlington, who had his first touchdown of the season, are both out due to injury, which is disappointing in the sense they were both heating up, but in comes Hergy Mayala, Canadian receiver, and tons of experience, and Darrell Walker. He's a CFL All-Star. These are 2 guys who, down the stretch and in the playoffs, could prove to be valuable for the Tiger Cats. So to have them and be able to insert them in, it it's kind of interesting how this is playing out with a couple of games to go in the regular season.
It is, and some nice depth there at the wide receiver position. Darrell Walker, that's very interesting to me. I mean, he's got the experience in the CFL that he might be one of those guys who can just plug and play. Like, we might see some production from him pretty early on in his time as a starter here. But it's kind of the guys that you see all of a sudden light up on a roster and late in the season and in a team where that's not their career, and all of a sudden you never know what could come from a vet like that in the playoff stretch here. And who's to say how long that will be, but meaning how long he'll be in a role that's active on the field. Omar Bayless, I thought he's been playing pretty well. He's been making plays where he's been called on and touchdowns and all the rest. And as you know, Sean Thomas Erlington is one of my favorite Ticats and a great vet, and he can do just about anything you want him to do. But in their stay, we'll see, and this will be just next man up mentality. That's a very Coach O kind of thing that they're going to be expected to make big plays as well.
So that's Ticats this week. The Tiger Cats play BC on Friday at 7 o'clock. If you're listening to this on Friday, also be sure to check out Ticats Game Day with Courtney Stephen and Mike Daly. They'll have it all set up. They go through the rosters or the depth charts in depth, and that's always good going into the game. Some storylines they'll bring you to watch. Pre-game show with Bubba O'Neill and Andy Fantuz is at 6. Luke and I have the call of the game at 7 o'clock. On the Ticats Audio Network. If you can make it to Tim Hortons Field, this is going to be an amazing atmosphere. It could be the last home game of the season for the Tiger Cats. We hope it's not. We'll have to see what happens. They need to win. BC needs to win to keep their hopes of a West Division first place finish alive. So if they lose, Winnipeg will get first place in the West Division. So they have a lot to play for. Luke, I'm going to give you the last word on Ticats this week. Just going into the game, a lot on the line for both teams. This could have a playoff atmosphere.
It could, and I think there's been so many question marks as the season's gone along with injuries, starting with such a losing record, trying to climb back into the playoff race and the playoff picture. Now, at this point in the season, you've got a very confident Tiger Cat team. Like, you can really say that. This is a team that's playing well and is playing with confidence, and that's just a great playoff recipe. Very excited for tomorrow night, Friday night.
It's been another busy week for your Hamilton Tiger Cats. Luke Tasker and RJ Broadhead have covered it all, and now we would like to hear from you. Email us anytime at gameday@ticats.ca. Subscribe to the Ticats Audio Network on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts.